Cotton. Probably the most well-known of all the fabrics, but not all are made equally. There are loads of different types of cotton fabrics, and I'm going to go through some of them with you today, as well as give you a few hints and tips and tricks for sewing up beautiful cotton fabrics. When I first got into making my own clothes, I went into quite an old-fashioned fabric shop and was met with shelves and shelves of rolls of fabric of all sorts, but the only one I really knew about was cotton, so that's what I went for. I picked a cotton and I took it home and I sewed it up, and whilst I was really proud of the dress that I made, the fabric just didn't feel nice to wear. It was quite stiff and scratchy. Turns out it was quite a cheap quality quilting cotton, which isn't ideal for dressmaking. For quilting, it's perfect, but for dressmaking, there are loads of other types of cotton. So let's get into some of them today. First up is the fabric that I am actually wearing, and it is this cotton lawn from Lady McElroy. It's called Loomy Rain, and it's a really beautiful quality, fine thread, high thread count, made using a tight weave, which gives it this really gorgeous, silky, smooth texture. It's very lightweight, it's quite drapey, but it presses beautifully, and it is great for making shirts, shirt dresses, lightweight trousers in the summer. There's so many different things that you can make with a cotton lawn. It is a absolutely gorgeous fabric to work with. It handles beautifully, it sews beautifully, it behaves well. So it's a very well behaved fabric. So I really recommend, if you are right at the beginning of your sewing journey and you want to sew something with a cotton, I recommend looking for a cotton lawn. There are a few different types. Liberty do a cotton lawn, Lady McElroy do a Marley Care lawn. There's a lot of different names for the cotton lawns, but if you find something that says cotton lawn, it's likely going to be a really good one. Next up is another gorgeous fabric that behaves really well, and that is a cotton poplin. This beautiful one is from Rooted Fabrics, and it's gorgeous. It's a little bit heavier than a cotton lawn. It's a little bit more lightweight than a lot of quilting cottons. It's made using a plain weave, and it gives it a lot of strength, stability, structure. It's great for sewing shirts and shirt dresses if you need to do like a nice crisp collar or something with pleats that's going to hold its shape. Cotton poplin is going to work beautifully. The other great thing about cotton poplin is it comes in so many different prints. You can get some absolutely amazing prints out there, and they're really, really fun to work with, fun to wear, bring a bit of colour and a bit of joy to your wardrobe. Next up, we have a super soft and snuggly brushed cotton. Yes, this is actually a dress. This is a Myosotis dress that I've made a few years ago in this beautiful brushed cotton. It's so soft, snuggly and warm to wear. It's a cotton that goes through a mechanical process where brushes are brushed over the surface of the fabric, which pulls up the softest, finest of the yarns and gives it this lovely texture. Traditionally, it was used a lot for bed linen. It's great for pajamas, and it's great for clothes in the colder months, shirts, lightweight jackets, pajamas. It makes great pajamas. It's very similar to a flannel fabric, but a flannel is sort of brushed on both sides, whereas a brushed cotton is only brushed on the one side. And most commonly, they come in checks or stripes. I love brushed cotton. It's just so gorgeous to work with, gorgeous to wear, cozy, comfy. It's the time of year for brushed cotton. Next up is another super snuggly, yet somehow perfect for wearing in the warmer months, and that is a double gauze. I love double gauze. It's one of my absolute favourite fabrics to work with, favourite fabrics to sew and to wear, and I have another video, I will link it below, specifically about sewing with double gauze, so I make sure to check that out. A double gauze is basically 2 layers of fine gauze fabric that are basted together at regular intervals, which give this very subtle grid texture. It gives it a sort of a snuggly feel to it, but it's so comfortable to wear. Again, it makes great pajamas, but I have also made a blouse, I've made dresses. I've made a dress for my daughter for the summer. There are loads of different things to make with double gauze. And like I said, this is one of my absolute favourite fabrics ever. One type of cotton fabric that I wanted to talk to you about, but I sadly don't have any examples to show you, is a chambray. Chambray is lovely. It's like a very lightweight denim. It looks a lot like denim. It's woven with a coloured yarn in the warp and a white yarn in the weft. I'm doing that, but I'm not sure which way around they are, which gives it that very similar look to denim, but it's much more lightweight, much more drapey, and it's perfect for casual shirts, lightweight trousers if you want the look of denim but something a bit more comfortable for the summer. Chambray is a really great option to go for. Usually it comes in a light blue, but you can get other colours as well. Again, beautiful fabric to work with. Okay, I apologise that the only example I have of this fabric is black, so it's quite hard to see, but this fabric went into October's classic So Hailey Jane boxes. This one was in the luxury So Hailey Jane boxes, so they kind of go together. This is a Dobby cotton. It's also known as Swiss dot. It's made on a Dobby loom, which gives these spots all over the fabric. It's usually in sort of a straight line or grid pattern. And it just gives a little bit something extra to an otherwise very plain fabric. I am currently making a closet core Jenna out of this fabric, which I cannot wait to wear. I have seen a Tilly and the Buttons. Oh, what's it called? What? Oh, it's behind me. Nell. I've seen a Tilly and the Buttons Nell out of this fabric. I have seen a beautiful dress. The Willow dress by Cinnamon Daisy was made by one of the ladies who writes for the magazine for me, Laura, and that's absolutely gorgeous. So yeah, Dobby cotton, also known as Swiss dot, another gorgeous one to work with and to wear. Next up is a cotton twill. Now I apologise, this skirt has been in the mending pile for quite a long time. I made this about 4 or 5 years ago. So it's a little bit crumpled. I have actually ironed it, but I don't think you can really tell. It's a cotton twill, which is a very heavyweight cotton fabric, so it's perfect for structured jackets, skirts, tailored trousers, that kind of thing. As you can see, it holds a pleat really, really well. So it's a really lovely fabric to work with, a lovely fabric to wear, especially in the winter if you need to dress a bit smarter. Cotton twill is definitely one to look out for. Okay, the last fabric I want to show you today, there are others that I have missed out. I don't have the examples to show you, and I feel like this is a list that could be never ending. So there are others to look out for, but this is a really good guide if you're just getting started in dressmaking or you want to expand a little bit and try a few different cottons. This is a really beautiful bright blue Broderie Anglaise. Now, Broderie Anglaise is more traditionally made using a white or a cream cotton. It became very popular in England in the 19th century. It's made using a needlework technique that combines embroidery, cut work, and lace making skills to make this really gorgeous fabric. As you can see, Broderie Anglaise is characterized by its open holes. So these holes are punched out, and then embroidery is done to seal up those holes so that they don't fray, and is usually made with patterns that depict leaves and flowers and vines and twigs, that sort of thing. And yeah, this one is particularly gorgeous. I've had this in my stash for a little while and I need to do something with it. Being a very open weave fabric with holes, you might want to consider what you're making and whether or not you want to line it, either in a similar colour or a different contrasting colour to show through. Or if you're doing something that's quite gathered, has a lot of gathers, maybe you don't need to do that so much, or you might want to wear a slip underneath or a vest top or something like that. I also really like the idea of using Broderie Anglaise as a contrast fabric to do like big puffy sleeves with, if you had a fabric like this, like a plain ribbed jersey sweater type fabric, and then did sleeves out of Broderie Anglaise, that would look really beautiful. I used to have a top like that actually. Sadly, it had to go away. But Broderie Anglaise is really, really beautiful fabric, and this one is just stunning. The colour is gorgeous. So those are a few of the different types of cotton you can get. Like I said, the list is pretty long. There are other fabrics, other types of cotton that I could go into, but I thought I would keep it fairly short and sweet. So let's have a think about some of the tips and tricks and how to actually sew with cotton. So the first thing you always want to do with cotton fabric, with most fabrics, is get it in the wash. Before you cut into it, make sure you wash it. Cotton is well known to shrink by up to 15%. So make sure you wash it however you would launder your final garment. So if that's a 30-degree wash or a 40-degree wash, get it in the washing machine. If you think you might like to tumble dry it as well, make sure you do that too. Once it's dry, you can go ahead and iron it. Before you cut into it, you need to make sure you get all those creases out so that the fabric is perfectly flat. A regular temperature warm iron will do the job perfectly. When you are ready to cut into your fabric, lay it out and fold it in half with the right sides together so that the selvage meets the selvage, and make sure those selvages are lined up nice and straight and that there's no twists in the fabric. If it looks like the fabric is twisting, you can just take the top layer and just move it along a little bit to help it untwist and make sure it's nice and flat when you lay it out on your carpet or on the table. Put your pattern on top, and one thing that is really important with all dressmaking is to make sure that the grain line is running parallel to the selvage. The selvage is the long edge of the fabric. Sometimes on a lot of fabrics it has a special design or feature, or maybe it's white, or there's little tiny holes all along the selvage, so that's how you know. And it's woven so that it won't fray. And on your pattern there will be a long straight line running down the middle of your pattern, and it will usually say that that is the grain line. And you want to make sure that that line is parallel to the selvage. Otherwise your garment is going to twist over time and it's just not going to hang properly. To check that your grain line is running parallel to your selvage, grab a tape measure and measure from the grain line at one end to the selvage, and then take that measurement up to the other end of your grain line and check that it's the same. If it's off a little bit, you can just hold on to one end of the grain line and move the pattern slightly either way until it lines up. Cotton cuts absolutely beautifully, so take your scissors or your rotary cutter and cut around your pattern. Make sure that you snip into any notches or mark your notches in whatever way you like to do that, and cut your beautiful patterns out. Because cotton behaves so well, you can apply interfacing to your facing pieces nice and easily. Cut out your facing pieces first, then cut out your interfacing pieces and apply them to your facing with a warm iron. Make sure you use a piece of cotton, a piece of fabric or something over the top so that the interfacing doesn't stick to your iron. And yeah, it will behave so beautifully. Make sure to fit your sewing machine with a universal machine needle. 80 is about the size that you want to go for cotton. A higher number, like a 90 or 100, is more common for thicker fabrics, denims. A lower number is better for much lighter weight fabrics. So 80 is about what you want to go for your cottons. If your pattern suggests to stay stitch, especially around your necklines, make sure you do that. Stay stitching just helps to stop a curved edge of your fabric, of your pattern, from stretching out over time. This is most common on necklines, perhaps armholes, and you always stay stitch from the outside edge into the middle. So you would do this side first from the outside edge into the middle, and then you would do this side into the middle. And that stops the fabric from stretching out whilst you're sewing before you go to attach your interfacing or bias binding or whatever it is you're going to do. So now you're ready to sew your garment. Like I've already said, cotton behaves so beautifully. So you can pin those seams together and sew away, but one thing you do need to make sure you do is finish your seams. Cotton will fray over time, so you need to make sure that you finish your seams so that it doesn't fray. If you don't have an overlocker, cotton, whilst it does fray, it's not the worst in the world. So a simple zigzag stitch would work really well, or if you have pinking scissors, they also work really well. The ones I'm showing you here do not work that well because I may have used them to cut out Christmas tags from Christmas cards. So as you will see, it's not the best, but you get the general idea. So if you have pinking scissors, or do a zigzag stitch, or use an overlocker, all of those are a perfect way to finish your seams. And that's it. That's everything you really need to know about sewing with cotton. I hope you have found this useful. Give this video a like and subscribe if you aren't already. And I'll see you all really soon. Bye.